It's been a month since Prismatic Evolutions dropped, and collectors have been watching one card dominate the conversation. What some have dubbed the Sunbreon? I don't know. But is this really Moonbreon 2.0 with prices holding at $1,600? The question is, should you buy now, or is this a ticking time bomb? If this is you, this is a data-driven exploration to help guide you through that decision. Here's what you can expect from this video. 1. How Moonbreon's growth path compares to Sunbreon's. Why starting price and supply factors change trajectory. How Pokemon's printing strategy impacts long-term pricing. Debunking Moonbreon 2.0 myths, and where Sunbreon may land in the short, mid, and long term. And lastly, the smartest move for buyers, what strategies to watch before making a purchase. And also, let's just be real for a sec. We've only got 1 month of pricing data. Making predictions this early is risky. That said, I've seen so many takes that completely ignore key market factors that I felt a little responsibility to add some of my insight to the conversation. So grab a pen, a pad, and your thinking cap. We're about to tell a story through numbers. Let's start with our base by looking at Moonbreon, the card that redefined what we thought was possible for the modern Pokemon market. While there are clear chase elements and physical similarities between the two, there's one major differentiating factor: starting price. Here's Moonbreon's growth path. It started at around $220 in September 2021, but over the next 3.5 years, it climbed, sometimes violently, past $2,000. Now let's introduce Sunbreon to our graph. Sunbreon was released on January 17th, 2025 at around $1,600. That's a 741% price increase over Moonbreon's starting point. That same price took Moonbreon 3 years plus to reach. 1 month post-launch, prices have softened slightly, but it's just too early to call a short-term direction. The key difference here, though, is Moonbreon had a long runway for organic growth. But Sunbreon? It's starting at what was once Moonbreon's peak. Future pricing is already factored in years ahead of schedule. This brings us to why I made this video. I've seen PokeTubers, YouTubers, I don't know the names, and discussion forums claiming that Sunbreon will follow the exact growth path as Moonbreon. And that might seem reasonable on the surface, but let's zoom out. If Sunbreon followed the exact growth curve, it would hit $2,000 by next year. Not impossible, especially in a bull market. That alone might seem reasonable, but let's zoom out even further, where things get ridiculous. If Sunbreon truly followed Moonbreon's path, it wouldn't stop at $2,000. It would hit nearly $15,000 by 2028. Does anyone really think that this is happening? I don't. And if your favorite YouTuber or the guy at your local card shop or a market commentator is saying that Sunbreon can't drop or that it's Moonbreon 2.0 all over again, no. In my opinion, this is a dangerous take that ignores market cycles, supply, and reprint factors. So what's a more realistic expectation? Let's use Moonbreon's post $1,600 price movements as a first clue. Short term, like 1 year mark, Sunbreon is at best a sideways trending scenario. Worst case, we see long-term corrections to the downside. And what's the key takeaway there? Moonbreon had a unique growth window. Sunbreon does not. And to see why, let's talk about Pokemon's role in managing supply. Pokemon has confirmed they are printing at maximum capacity to meet demand. Upcoming waves include March 7th, booster bundles, which will have 6 packs per box. April 25th, we get the accessory pouch with 5 packs per box. May 16th and September 26th, we get more products with unconfirmed booster numbers. And also unconfirmed, but worth considering, is if we get a Sea and Sky or Blooming Waters collection equivalent. If Prismatic Evolutions followed the same release schedule we've seen with Crown Zenith and 151, it would put that product at around the end of 2026. And we know from experience, if demand stays high, Pokemon will extend the print window. So assuming Sunbreon follows Moonbreon's price growth without factoring in supply is just plain a mistake. It's not correct. And we are nowhere near understanding the total supply of what will be in the market. As of today, PSA has graded 751 Sunbreons. Compare that to the 20,695 graded Moonbreons. That's only 3.63% of Moonbreon's PSA population. We are just too early in the game. And to put it into more recent context, there have been 9,320 Magikarp SIR and 6,760 Pikachu SIR graded. Those are more recent sets with cards still very much in their PSA population growth phase, with incoming print waves potentially on the horizon. We just don't know what the ending total supply will look like, and for this reason, I have concluded that the downward pressure of an increasing supply of booster pack products, additional print waves, and more singles entering the market will put too great of a downward pressure on Sunbreon to sustain any breakout moves to the upside, at least in the short term. That's why, in my opinion, assuming Sunbreon will follow Moonbreon's price growth without factoring in supply is a mistake. Before we dive into long-term predictions, let's acknowledge some key uncertainties that could shift the outcome. First, demand resilience and speculative buyers. Assumptions have been made on my part about the reprint schedule. I have made my guesses based on historical examples and the promise Pokemon has made to reprint. While supply pressure is strong, demand from collectors and investors could temporarily sustain Sunbreon's price longer than I have modeled. Next, if speculators continue to hold on to their cards and resist selling, we could see sideways movement instead of an immediate decline. Pokemon's reprint strategy. Well, Pokemon says that they're printing at maximum capacity, but we don't know the scale of what these reprints actually mean. If Pokemon underestimates demand, prices could temporarily rebound due to scarcity. And unexpected market factors and macroeconomic conditions like inflation, recession fears, and collector spending power will influence high-end Pokemon card demand. Pokemon does not exist in a vacuum. And lastly, unforeseen events and circumstances. For example, if Pokemon were to announce another major evolution set, interest in Sunbreon could either increase due to a hype boost or decrease because of oversaturation. We just don't know. There's too many variables. And again, everything you are about to see is highly speculative, based off of very little certain information, and should be taken with a grain of salt. So now that that's out of the way, let me give it to you. I'll give you the long-term Sunbreon price prediction. In bold yellow, I have represented the most bullish case. This is the scenario where Pokemon does not overprint and either A, does not, or B, barely meets market demand. This scenario would have buyers struggling to find products in store and at MSRP for its entire life cycle. Key note there, entire life cycle. Even in this case, I believe we have at least a year's worth of price appreciation already factored into Sunbreon's current price. This model also assumes that prismatic evolutions will see no reprints or new supply after 3 years post-release. In fact, all three of these lines do. Which brings us to the orange dotted line. This represents a middle of the ground moderate reprint and supply cycle. This is something I'd put along the lines of feeling like 151 during most of 2023 and 3/4 of 2024. Not impossible to find in stores, has premium feeling cards and desirability, all while still being relatively obtainable. In this case, we see slow decline in price as new supply hits the market. Corrections are made to the downside as we exit the print cycle, and we begin to see a rise to the upside in the long term. Which brings us to our most bearish case, the red dotted line, which represents an aggressive reprint cycle. I can see Sunbreon going even lower than modeled here, to even a low of $700 or $800. A reprint schedule like this would feel like shining fates. Even in this event, I believe that price memory, the legacy of Moonbreon, and the difficult pull rates will still provide levels of support for this card, even in a Shining Fates level reprint scenario. I want to remind you, this is highly speculative and is based on very little known information outside of some historical examples. Moonbreon and where it has landed 3 years into the future and post $1,600 was a large base for this model. And again, it's just to illustrate a hypothetical to be contrary to this Moonbreon path. We both can agree that it's not going to follow that path. Now that we've taken a look at a few hypothetical paths, how do the next few months play out and what should you be looking for? Well, most high-end Pokemon cards follow a particular pattern of phases. Phase 1 is FOMO pricing. Early buyers overpay in the hype cycle, products dry up, causing fear and scarcity. Phase 2 is a supply squeeze. Early holders refuse to sell, keeping prices high, and this is where scalping really gets to thrive. Phase 3 is a supply flood. New waves hit the market, causing downward pressure. Phase 4 is a correction phase. Prices fall as sellers outnumber buyers. Phase 5 is an accumulation phase followed by growth. Right now, we are between phase 1 and 2. The price is being propped up by early demand, but the real test comes as supply increases and hits the market. I've just made a lot of claims, but how confident, and more importantly, how confident should you be about any of this? Well, here's a confidence rating I'd give our main points in this discussion that we've had. I am highly confident that Sunbreon will not follow Moonbreon's exact growth path. I am confident that supply increases will put downward pressure on Sunbreon. I'm moderately confident that Sunbreon's price will decline, but short-term movement is uncertain. I have low confidence in my charting and graph structure. We just don't have enough information yet. I also have low confidence in predicting the exact bottom price or how long speculation will hold. All of that considered, yes, there are unknowns, but the current market data heavily leans towards Sunbreon softening over time. If you're waiting to buy, here are the key signals I would look for and monitor. The first up, March 7th, we get that product wave from the booster bundles. Does this impact prices? 2, retail restocks. If widely available at MSRP, expect a drop. We still have to wait and see how heavily Pokemon leans into these reprints. Panic selling. If reprints are heavy and it starts, prices may decline rapidly. 4, sealed product trends. If ETBs, booster bundles, and other key booster pack products hold strong, singles could stabilize, telegraphing stabilization in the market. And last up, mid-year price check, June, July. Where's Sunbreon by then? Let's reflect on this initial take with only 1 month of price history then. These factors will dictate whether Sunbreon stabilizes or corrects. I'll be closely monitoring all of these trends and follow up at the 6-month mark, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't, so that way you don't miss it. What's the too long didn't read on this? Well, best move, in my opinion, is wait until mid-2025 before making any long-term buys. And the big one is don't fall for the Moonbreon 2.0 hype. Same artwork and rarity? Sure. Same price trajectory? Not even close. But what's your call? Drop your take in the comments and let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my takes. And for more information on why you shouldn't FOMO prismatic evolutions, check out one of these videos. Until next time, stay safe, much love, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.